Hey everybody, it's Bobby Nahum here with AMAC Real Estate Company. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week this week. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the residential real estate market here in Tallahassee and what we saw in the first quarter of this year. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over some real estate metrics for the residential real estate market here, and we're going to compare what we saw in the first 3 months of this year to the first 3 months of 2019 to see how we're doing. Specifically, we're gonna look at several metrics, including number of properties listed, number of properties sold. We're going to be talking about what we saw with average home prices. We're going to be talking about the average list or sale price to listing price ratio, which measures what homes have been selling for compared to what the asking price is. We're going to be talking about number of days on the market, and we're going to be talking about distress sales and how many distress sales have been compared to total sales in Leon County. We're going to take those metrics and we're going to look at what we saw in the first quarter of 2020 of this year and compare that to where we were at a year ago and see which direction the market headed this year, if it's good or bad. So anyway, just to get started, just want to give you kind of a summary. So basically the first quarter of this year was actually really good in Leon County. We started off with a bang, especially January and February before COVID-19 hit us. We were looking to probably have a record year this year. But even with what's going on right now, the market still was very strong even in March. And as a result, we had a good first quarter, and pretty much every single metric that I analyzed for the first quarter of this year in Tallahassee was up. It was an improvement from the first 3 months of 2019. So let's just jump right into it. What we're going to do is we're gonna give a breakdown for Leon County, Tallahassee as a whole. And then we're going to give a breakdown for each quadrant, what we saw in each quadrant. That way, you can kind of get an idea of how different areas of the county are performing compared to each other. And then at the end, I'm going to go over with you guys kind of what I think is going to happen, what we can expect to see the rest of the year, which is especially important for anybody that's worried about, how this COVID-19 pandemic might be affecting our real estate market. So let's jump right into it. So let's first talk about Leon County as a whole. So the first quarter of this year, we saw listings increase by 2.6% compared to the first quarter of 2019. Sales were up 5.7%. Home prices 10.2%, which is a huge increase. Keep in mind the historical average for home price appreciation is about 3 to 5% a year. So this is over double what is the historical average. So it's big. It's a big gain. Average sale price to list price ratio increased by 0.97%, and the average sale price to list price ratio was 98.41%. So what that means is that on average, homes in Leon County, residential properties in Leon County have been selling for 98.41% of the asking price. So obviously that is an indication that we're in a strong seller's market. The average days on the market decreased by 21%, 21.05% to be exact. In the first 3 quarters of 2019, it took about 76 days on average for a property to sell, whereas the first quarter of this year was down to only 60 days. So that's a big decrease. So what does that mean? It basically means that the market has strengthened, or it did strengthen in the first quarter compared to a year ago. Home buyer demand is up. So if the demand is up and the inventory is low, which it still is, homes are going to sell faster, and that's what we saw. So, and then the last thing is the distress sales to total sales. So what does that measure? Distress sales are foreclosures and short sales, basically. So it's properties that have either gone back to the bank, been foreclosed on and gone back to the bank, or properties that are about to be foreclosed on, but the bank works out a deal with the homeowner to get it sold before it goes into foreclosure. distress sales. So we did see a slight decrease in distress sales in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of 2019. Distress sales made up 2.04% of all sales this year in the first quarter compared to 2.16% last year. So a very small decrease, but just let me say this: short sales, foreclosures, distress sales, they're so small now. It's such a small percentage of total sales. It doesn't have a big impact on our real estate market anymore. 10 years ago, back when we were in the height of the foreclosure crisis, they were 25-30% of total sales, so it was a big deal. But again, it's a good idea to keep track of what distress sales are doing. If we start to see the level of distress sales go up, we know that the market might be changing for the worse. So that's why we still keep an eye on it. But so that was Leon County as a whole. Again, improvements in every single metric that we measured. So let's talk about Northeast Leon County and look at what we saw there. All right, so in the Northeast, and that's going to be your Clarn area, out Centerville Road, out Meridian Road, even out Mahan Road. That's all considered the Northeast part of town. Listings increased by 8.4%, which is good. We need more listings. We need more homes for sale because we've been running a shortage of housing supply. Sales went up by 3.7%. Home prices, again, were up by 10% in the Northeast. It's a big increase. The sale price to list price ratio saw an increase of 1%. So in the Northeast, homes sold for 98.49% of the asking price, which is very close to the asking price because there's so few homes for sale and so many buyers looking for homes. There was not very much room for buyers to negotiate on prices with homes selling for almost 99% of asking price. And the number of days on the market in the Northeast decreased by 26.8%. Went down from 71 days first quarter of 2019 to only 52 days in the first quarter of this year. So a big decrease in the amount of time it took a home to sell in the Northeast part of town. And then distress sales only made up 1.44% of all sales. That's down from a year ago when it was 1.74%. So very low level of distress sales in the Northeast part of town. All right, so let's talk about the Northwest part of town. So the listings in the Northwest, they decreased by 4.4%. Sales were actually unchanged. They 289 sales in the first quarter of this year, 289 sales in the first quarter of 2019. So same number of sales. Don't see that too often, but that was the case this past year. Prices, big jump in the Northwest, 17.3% increase. The sale price to list price ratio increased by 1.54%, where homes in the Northwest sold for 98.03% of total sales. So again, very home selling very close to the asking price, even in the Northwest side of town. Days on the market saw a big decrease, 44.8%, went down from 84 days last year on the market before homes sold on average, down to 58 days. So big decrease in the number of days on the market that it took a home to sell. And then the distress sales to total sales ratio went up a little bit, but not by very much, by 0.7%. So distress sales made up only 2.08% of total sales in the Northwest this first quarter of this year, compared to 1.38% a year ago. So still very low. 1 to 2 to 3%. It's going to probably see some fluctuation from quarter to quarter. Even if it's going up a little bit, we're still very low. We were still very low in terms of distress sales in the Northwest. So nothing to worry about there. All right, so let's talk about the southeast part of town. This would include, Appalachia Parkway, Blairstone Road area, Southwood, parts of the south side. I guess that would be to the east of Monroe Street. That would all be the southeast part of town. So listings decreased by 1.7%, sales increased by 14.6%, home prices increased by 5.9%. The sale price to list price ratio saw a slight decrease, 0.1%, but in the southeast part of town, the sale price to list price ratio was 99.03%, so very strong. Even though it was a slight decrease from last year, it's still the highest in the county of all the quadrants. The average days on the market saw a slight increase of 3.2%, with homes selling on average after 64 days on the market in the southeast part of town. The distress sales to total sale ratio decreased by 1.1%. So in the southeast, distress sales only made up 2.55% in the first quarter of this year, and that was compared to 3.65% last year, so a slight decrease. All right, and then the last quadrant is the southwest quadrant. So in the southwest, we saw listings decrease by 4.4%. Sales saw a big increase of 28.9%. Home prices increased by 4%. The sale price to list price ratio increased by 1.81%. Up to 96.8%. So in the southwest, that's probably the least strong quadrant out of all the quadrants in Leon County. So, but even with it being the least strong of all the quadrants in terms of the strength of the market, still 96.8% is a good sale price to list price ratio, and that's what we saw in the southwest quadrant in the first quarter of this year. And then the average days on the market went down. They increased by 5.8%. So in the southwest, it took about 109 days on average for a home to sell, and that was up from last year when it only took 103 days. So, and then the distress sales to total sale ratio saw a decrease. Distress sales in the southwest made up 4.48% of total sales, and that's down from last year when it was 5.77%. So anyway, that's all the quadrants. But so all four quadrants across the board had one thing in common: listings increased, number of sales increased, and prices increased. So those are all good things across the board. The sale price to list price ratio, days on the market, and the distress sales to total sales ratio. So you saw some fluctuation from quadrant to quadrant. Leon County as a whole saw improvements in all those areas, but there was, on those last three metrics, there was some variation from quadrant to quadrant. So that was the summary on what we saw in the first quarter of this year. It was a very, very good data, especially with the pandemic, which we started affecting us in March. Even with that we had a good March. So, but the first quarter was great. But what can we expect the rest of the year? Well, I think that it's safe to say there will be an effect on not just the broader economy, but on our local real estate market as well. It's going to affect certain metrics probably more than the other. I think one thing that we can be certain of is that overall activity is going to slow down in the next quarter and maybe even into the third quarter. So what does that mean? That means number of sales is probably going to go down. It's going to be lower than what it would have been if we had not had the pandemic. It's going to be lower than that level. So in addition to sales going down, we're also going to probably see a decrease in the number of properties listed for sale. Homeowners are probably going to be reluctant to put their property on the market because they're going to think that there's nobody out there, not enough home buyers out there in the market right now. So they're going to postpone putting their home up for sale. So number of home sales and number of homes listed for sale are going to go down. Home prices, I think, are going to be okay, and here's why. I'll tell you why. I don't think we're going to see a decrease in home prices. Absolutely not going to see any kind of decrease. We may not see home prices increase as much as they were going to increase, but I think likely what we'll see is either home prices flattening out the remainder of the year or just going up slightly compared to last year. And here's why I'm optimistic about home prices. Our housing inventory is so low. We've got about a 3 to 4 month supply of homes. So what does that mean? That means if nobody else listed their house, it would only take about 3 to 4 months to sell all the existing homes on the market. So in a balanced market where there's kind of an equal level of housing demand and housing supply, that level is about a 6 to 7 month supply of homes. We're at about half that, about a 3 to 4 month supply of homes. So we're in a strong seller's market. In order for home prices to go down, we would have to see a drop in home sales of 50% or more, which I don't think we're going to see that. We don't have any indication or any data that shows that our home prices or home sales are going to fall that far. So I think home prices will be fine. I think home prices will stay steady, and then once the pandemic eases and people's confidence gets up again, I think we're going to see a lot of pent up demand for homes, and I think you're going to see a lot of activity after the pandemic clears up later on in the year. That's my prediction. But if you're looking to buy a home, there's no reason to postpone buying a home right now. I don't think we're going to see home prices crater. I think, in my opinion, I think that's kind of ridiculous to assume that that's going to happen. So I think if you buy a home now, you don't have to worry about the price falling way down. So if you're going to buy a home, if you need to buy a home, go ahead and continue looking for a home. If you're looking to sell a home and you need to sell it now, go ahead and put it on the market. Homes are still selling right now, and nice homes that are priced right are still selling quick, and in some cases still receiving multiple offers. So I'm still seeing multiple offers out there in my daily working with buyers and sellers. If you have the luxury of postponing putting your home on the market, you can do that if you want to and wait till things get a little bit better. There's no issue with that, but if it's going to cause a hardship, don't postpone putting your home on the market. Go ahead and carry on as you were planning on doing. And that's it. I feel pretty optimistic. In my own business, I'm seeing homes still selling out there. I was working with a buyer this past week where we actually got outbid, and there was multiple offers on the property. So you're still seeing that nowadays. So that's a good sign. But that's it. If you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to call me or email me or text me or Facebook message me. Also, please remember to like my YouTube channel. It's Bobby Nahum Real Estate on YouTube. And if you guys ever have any real estate related needs, feel free to call me. I'd be glad to help you guys. I'm still working through this pandemic. Real estate is considered an essential service, so I'm here to serve you all's needs whenever you might need me. So I hope everybody has a great week, and I look forward to talking with you all next time. Thanks. Bye.